Happy Easter! I'm so happy to be celebrating Easter with you guys today, and so excited for our story time. Penny and I have our Easter clothes on. I think I kind of look like an Easter egg in this blouse. And you have got to see Penny's beautiful little Easter dress. Isn't she just adorable as always? Anyway, we're gonna read the Easter story today, but we're gonna start from where we left off on Palm Sunday. So we're actually gonna read a few stories out of our storybook Bible today instead of just the one that we normally read. Because before we can celebrate Easter, we really have to understand what came before Easter, in the days before Easter, starting with Maundy Thursday, which was when Jesus had his Last Supper. So if you have your storybook Bibles, you can turn. It's always interesting for me to reach around Penny to open the Bible. You can turn to page 462. And we're going to start with the Last Supper. Now this story time is going to be a little longer than normal because we are going to do a few stories out of the Bible. But it's going to be worth it in the end. So I hope you enjoy. It goes, Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world. He wanted to share his last Passover meal together with his 12 closest friends, the disciples. Jesus loved his friends and wanted to show them his love in a very caring way. As the friends got ready for the meal, Jesus put water in a large bowl and knelt down on the floor. He wanted to wash the feet of each disciple. When it was Peter's turn, Peter said to Jesus, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Peter, you don't understand what I'm doing now, but you will later." Peter loved Jesus so much that he said, "Then don't just wash my feet, but my head and hands also." Peter wanted to be as close to Jesus as possible. As they were eating, Jesus sadly told his disciples, "Soon one of you will betray me. One of you will tell people who don't like me where I am so they can take me away." This upset the disciples, and each one said, "It's not me you're talking about, is it?" When Judas said this, Jesus gently replied, "Yes, Judas, you will betray me." Then Jesus picked up a loaf of bread. He blessed it and gave some to each of his friends, saying, "Take this bread and eat it. This is my body." Then Jesus picked up a cup of wine. He gave thanks and said, "Drink this. It's my blood, which I give up so the sins of people may be forgiven." Okay, so that was the Last Supper. And if that sounded familiar, where he gave the bread and the wine, that is what we do today when we have communion. We're recreating that Last Supper where Jesus gave his disciples the wine that represented his blood and the bread that represented his body. Okay, now the story continues on page 468. Jesus is betrayed. Jesus had a good friend named Peter who was there when Jesus healed people and made miracles happen. Just like Jesus liked Peter so much, he gave Peter the nickname the Rock. Jesus had another friend named Judas. Jesus, Peter, Judas, and all the other disciples spent lots of time together. They were all together when Jesus told them that his life had to end. It was a sad and hard time for Jesus and his friends. Jesus felt so sad that he went to a quiet place in a garden and prayed. "Please, God," Jesus prayed, "make me strong. Help me trust you." Jesus asked the disciples to come to the garden and stay awake while he prayed, but they fell asleep. "Wake up, wake up, wake up," Jesus told the disciples 3 times. When Jesus finished praying, it was time for them to go and face hard things. Even though Jesus had many friends, he had some bad enemies too. Some people were scared that Jesus would change the world too much with love. Judas got scared too. He let Jesus down. Judas told some of Jesus' enemies where Jesus was. When soldiers came to the garden, Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek to show them who they were looking for. The soldiers took Jesus away. Judas and Peter ran away and hid. They were so scared. Later, Peter waited outside the place where Jesus was on trial. A girl saw Peter and said, "He's a friend of Jesus." Oops, sorry. He's in trouble too. Peter wanted to help his friend Jesus, but he was scared, so he pretended he didn't know Jesus. "I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know him," Peter said. His lie made him feel even worse inside. Peter ran away again. He cried and cried. Peter felt so sad for Jesus. Peter felt very, very sorry. But Jesus knew that Peter loved him. Jesus knew that Peter was his friend. That's why he had given Peter such a special job. The rock became a strong leader in the church. He told many, many people about his friend Jesus. I know him, I know him, I know him. Peter told everyone, and that was the truth. So even sometimes when we get afraid and maybe we hide or don't want to tell the truth, it happens to the best of us. But Jesus does forgive us for that, as he forgave Peter. Okay, we're continuing on. The next story is Christ the King, and it is on page 474. Don't worry, Penny's still down here. She's just got tired of sitting up, so she laid down a little bit. Okay. The priests were mad at Jesus and wanted to get rid of him. "What will happen to us if the people follow Jesus?" they grumbled. So they made a plan. "Let's take Jesus to the governor, Pontius Pilate. He can get rid of Jesus." When Pontius Pilate saw Jesus, he asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus didn't answer. Pilate thought kings ruled over countries and people. Jesus knew that his power was about loving God. Jesus' kingdom was not the same. Pilate was frustrated. Some people wanted to kill Jesus, but Pilate didn't think Jesus had done anything wrong. Pilate didn't want any trouble, so he handed Jesus over to the people. The priest smiled. Soon Jesus would be gone. Jesus knew that he would die, but that wouldn't be the end of the story. Jesus knew God's plan too. Okay, and then we continue on to the day Jesus died, page 476. It was a very sad day when Jesus died. The soldiers who had arrested Jesus teased him for pretending to be a king. They took his clothes and put a king's purple cloak on him. They made a crown of vines and with sharp thorns and put it on Jesus' head. Ouch. The soldiers made Jesus carry a heavy wooden cross. The cross was too heavy for him. Jesus fell and skinned his knees, and the cross tumbled to the ground. A man in the crowd carried the cross the rest of the way. The soldiers nailed Jesus' hands and feet to the cross. They raised Jesus' cross up on a hill between two other men. The other men were thieves, and they were being crucified too. One of the men was angry with Jesus. "If you were a powerful king, can't you save yourself? Why don't you save us too?" The man spat at Jesus. But the other thief believed in Jesus. He shouted back, "Don't you know who this is? This is God's son. He hasn't done anything wrong. We were being punished for our mistakes, but Jesus shouldn't be here." The man turned to Jesus and asked, "Will you take me to heaven with you?" Jesus looked at the man and loved him. Jesus told him, "Yes, today we will be in heaven together." After a while, the world grew very dark, as if a terrible thunderstorm was coming. It was as if all of creation was crying because Jesus was about to die. Jesus was feeling all alone and prayed to see if God was still there. Of course, God never left Jesus. God was with him the whole time. Jesus looked at the crowd. He was so sad that people didn't believe that he was God's son. He asked God to forgive them for killing him. The soldiers offered him some sour wine, but he didn't want to drink it. He was ready to die. Finally, Jesus had fought for long enough, he said. God, the work you gave me to do here is finished. He breathed a final, long, slow breath, then died. Okay, that brings us to Easter morning, and the story continues with the empty tomb on page 482. It was early in the morning on the third day after Jesus died. The sky was pink and red with the first light of the sun. The women didn't notice the sky. They hurried to the cave that contained Jesus' body. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, led the way. Two others, Salome and Joanna, carried the spices to rub on the body of Jesus. They had a job to do. When the tomb of Jesus came into sight, they froze. Uh-oh, they had forgotten about the huge stone that sealed the opening of the cave. How would they move it? The women kept going to the cave anyway. As they came closer, the women could see that the stone had already been rolled away. They peeked inside. Ooh, it was dark in there. Brr, it was cold in there. Drip, drop, it was damp in there. It was empty in there. Jesus was gone. An angel appeared in sparkling white clothes. The glow from the angel brightened even the darkest corners of the cave. The woman shielded their eyes from the blinding light. Don't be afraid, the angel said. Jesus isn't here. This is a place for the dead. Jesus is alive. Hooray, the angel said. Go tell the disciples. The women did not delay. They ran to tell Jesus' friends what they had seen and heard. Oof, Mary bumped into a man, tripped and fell at his feet. Wait, she knew those feet. A familiar hand reached out to help her. Wait, she knew that hand. She looked up. Yes, she knew that smile. It was Jesus. Hello, friends, Jesus said. Jesus was alive. The women hugged his feet and shouted with joy. Go tell the others the good news that I am alive, Jesus said. I will meet them in Galilee. I can't wait to see them again. The women had a new job to do. They had to tell everyone Jesus was alive. And that is the end of our story time. I hope you enjoyed hearing the whole story of Holy Week. I know the beginning of it is very sad when Jesus is being put to death. And it's worth it though, because in the end, he is resurrected and he is alive and he died for our sins and for all of us. And we now get to celebrate the gloriousness of Easter. And I hope that you stay for all of our activities and this big Easter celebration. Have a great day, and I will see you next week for more story time. Until then, say bye. Say bye-bye to Penny.